Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the Blended podcast, and the founder of the Blended Pledge. And I'm super excited to be here with you today. Now, we've got some great guests coming on from ION, and they recently did a digital transformation report that they're going to be sharing with us today. And you're going to be a little bit surprised as to what comes out of this report. And then even later on today, I'm going to be recording a podcast with them to dive even deeper into that report. So today, for me, it's all about digital transformation. I can't wait to share all of that with you. Now, we want to give a shout out to the Secret Society of Supply Chain. If you haven't gone, go to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com and sign up for our free membership today. I want to give a shout out to some of our newest members. We've got Umang Khan, we've got Jolene Jacoby, Curtis Cope, and Marvin Hampton. I hope you're enjoying your time in the Secret Society of Supply Chain. We've also got Women in Supply Chain Connections over there as well. If you are watching, I want to know where you're tuning in from, so make sure to put that in the comments. We want to give you a shout out. And of course, if you like the conversation today, make sure to give us a fire emoji. All right, let's get into what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we've got a couple of brand new episodes for you. Episode 497, Transform Your Returns Management and Delight Customers with Blue Yonder. Now, this episode really dove deep into how you can use your returns management for your competitive advantage. And we dove into some really great insights here. So go and check that out wherever you listen or watch the show. It's over on Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube if you missed that. And then our newest episode, 498, Tariffs, Turbines, and Information Superhighway, behind the scenes at Port of Long Beach. Now, love Dr. Noel. I have interviewed him probably about 8 times, and this one was no different. He really delivered on what they're talking about, what they're doing, how they're implementing different strategic plans around the Port of Long Beach. And we did this on site at IANA Expo. And so it was a lot of fun to do that. So go and check out that episode wherever you listen and watch the show. Coming up, we've got a couple of live events. So Thursday, November 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, I'm going to be on the ground in Paris at VizNow. And I'm going to be doing all sorts of interviews that day with some really, really big names. And we're going to take that content, we're going to turn it into a LinkedIn Live November 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern. You're not going to want to miss some of these insights. So make sure you click the attend button, even if you can't attend live, so that we can send you the details later on. And then November 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm going live with OptiLogic. And we're talking about scaling supply chain decisions at Cencora. And I'm looking forward to talking with these ladies about smart moves, fast answers, all the things you need to know in supply chain. So again, click the attend button so that you can, even if you can't attend live, we will send you the link to that recording. All right, what's next? Oh, and last but not least, I don't know if you've heard, I mean, we've talked about it enough, but my book came out last Tuesday, and it's 99 cents on Kindle until today. So grab your copy. We're getting a lot of really, really great feedback, and I'd love to hear yours as well. Here's the book. So go get your copy, 99 cents. I think we've got the link in the comments for if you want to go grab that. All right, it is time now to bring up our guests for today. Let's do that right now. Good morning, or actually, I think it's good afternoon for both of you because you're both in Europe, right?
No, I'm in New York now, so close.
Okay. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever anybody else is in the world. Okay, why don't we start off with some introductions? Tell us who you are, what you do, and then give us a bit of a overview of who ION is. Freek, should I start with you?
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, Freek Aertsen, Dutch by origin. Founded the company in 1999, and we are, let's say, specialized in improving forecasting and planning performance of our clients, mainly in manufacturing and retail. We have a European footprint and also a US footprint. Our main office is in New York. In Europe, we have offices in Switzerland, Ireland, and the Netherlands.
Awesome.
I'm really looking forward to this podcast, Sarah.
Yeah, we get to do it twice today. We get
Yeah.
to do it twice today. We're going to do Thoughts and Coffee this morning, and then we're going to jump on to record a podcast that's going to be released in, I think, just a couple of weeks from now to dive more into the topic that we're going to be talking about today. So I appreciate you for being here, Freek. Bart, over to you. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yep. Thank you. So Bart Paridaen, I'm digital supply chain transformation lead within ION, and as such engaged in quite a couple of transformation projects as we speak. So also really working on that day to day. My passion is also really there, working with customers with a high level of complexity, typically global supply chain networks, and then transformation in the broader sense. So typically, of course, a digital component there, but also linking that to people, behavioral change, and also the data side of things. So that's where data process, we really try to bring transformation in the full cycle, let's say, to our customers.
Yeah, and I can't wait to dive into that report. I mean, I talk about this all the time. Digital transformation is only 20% technology. 80% is everything else. And your report really talks about that, how it is going to be about everything else. But also it talks about balance. Like you talk about how supply chain is really, really complex. Because I was reading the report and I loved it. You talk about how it's really complex, but really I think what we're coming down to with the leaders and what the leaders had to say was we need a little bit more balance. And we haven't been using that word a lot. And so I'm excited to dive into that, but that is going to be coming up in just a few minutes. I do want to get to our poll of the week. So we ask everybody a question we ask our community a question every single Wednesday morning. And the question that we asked last week, the time to value dilemma, undergoing digital transformation, what is the most impactful challenge? Now we had just under 100 votes. 45% of you said ignoring people and skills. 45%. I mean, that's a really big percentage. 42% of you said over planning and no action. I can't wait to hear your feedback on this because I love these answers. 11% said chasing wins, losing scale. Now, I want to turn this over to you, Freek, first, and then we'll go to Bart. Was this surprising to you? Like, what did you think about the poll results on this one?
It's not surprising, and I really love the answers. At least the winning answers. Let's put it. There is no winner, but I love especially the ignoring people and skills part of it. But I forgot to mention in the introduction. Besides working for ION, I also work at the university. I have a professorship at the University of the Netherlands.
Wow!
And together with a colleague from ION, we are currently engaged in a big research project on APS. User acceptance by the planner.
Wow.
Which is a really interesting thing because we invest millions, or not to say hundreds of millions, in those APS systems, which are very often at the core of your digital transformation. Mm-hmm. Yet what we find from our research is that the user itself has sometimes quite difficulty in accepting this new beast in the room. And it's really what sets over here, ignoring people and skills. If it's in the beginning by designing the new system, if it's when running the new APS system, if it's when the system is implemented, and there are a lot of interventions you can have to get your people on board in this sense. So I really love this let's say ignoring people and skills. I don't love it, but it's good that it stands out so fast from the poll.
Yeah,
we really need to get people on board, even in this agentic AI age, where we expect that everything's going to be taken over by the machine. We still see a really important role for our planners or our people in our organizations. So it was a great one.
Yeah, I was talking about this on Thoughts and Coffee last week with Eric Johnson in the fact that a lot of the technologies that have brought in like AI voice and things like that have pivoted back to the hybrid model because we realize that we need the people as part of the process in different ways. So I'm glad that you said that. Bart, what do you think about these answers?
Yeah, so, well, I recognize them as well, right? So I think at first, indeed, the people element. We sometimes also talk about what we call smart touch planning, right? And I think that really links to finding that balance between man and machine. I think the other one that scored high, I also recognize the typical transformation journey is really a multi-year project, or it's sometimes an even sort of never-ending story, because every time there is something new and appealing coming to the marketplace, also with, for example, developments on the AI side currently. So what I also see at our customers is finding that balance between, how can we bring value in the now while also doing the right thing to be prepared for bigger things for the future. So more enabling activities. And it's typically those enabling activities are maybe not the sexiest ones, but you do need them to make that step change in the future. So that's also what I see happening. The shiny new cars are, of course, where everyone is interested in. Yeah. If you then talk about, we need to do things on data enablement, that's maybe not that sexy, but it still is very required also to scale, for example, afterwards.
Well, one of the ones that really surprised me was the over planning, and it didn't surprise me, but I thought it was really funny. Over planning and no action. Sometimes we get so involved in like the strategic plan and what that needs to look like that we actually sometimes get that paralysis, right? And we don't end up taking action, or we start looking and doing planning somewhere else because we figure we're done with this one. But if we don't take action on the plan, what does that actually mean? So I thought that was really funny. I have been, I have done this myself. And so I'm okay to laugh at it because I've totally done it myself. All right, let's get into a bit of the market update. We usually ask our guests a question around, what are you hearing? Obviously, we're going to be hearing from you about digital transformation in the report, but you did a lot of research for this. You talked to a lot of leaders. What are some of the other things that didn't make the report that, the leaders are sort of, it's keeping them up at night? What are they thinking about? What do we as supply chain professionals need to think about going into the end of the year? Freek?
Yeah, I think one topic that stands out, there are a couple of topics that stand out quite heavily, but I think what I see in my engagements really at this moment and in time, just before the new year, is how am I going to organize myself and my people? It comes back to that one. For these future demands. If it's like, say, that supply chains get unpredictable or AI is kicking in, so how do I get my organization set up? Do I need to centralize? Do I need to decentralize? What sort of roles do I need? How do I organize my AI department, which is a challenge in itself? So many of the questions I get and many of the engagement I'm currently in are around that topic. So and that's driven by everything that's going on. But how do I get my organization ready, structurally, but also capability-wise, size-wise? I think that's one thing that made the report slightly, but not as the main topic. But that's beside this digital transformation, a really important question I get from my clients.
And can we really answer that question though? Because I think there's so much of the unknown going into the future when it comes to AI, when it comes to technology. Like we really don't know everything that's going to come out of this. And so how do you even answer that question? I mean, I know you're answering some of that in the report, but to answer that specific question, how do I future-proof? How do I build my teams? I don't know how you do that if we really don't know what the future actually holds.
Yeah. And that's a good observation, Sarah. And what you see is that there are some givens in the future. That's one thing. Technology will kick in, so that means I have to do something with my supply chain department or my planning department with technology. So that's a thing you for sure know you have to invest in. And it's also so that's a known thing. A second known thing is that uncertainty is here and is here to stay. So that's, for example, in the centralization decentralization question coming up quite often. So that's also a thing you might know. And there are still a lot of unknowns, but you just don't have to make the wrong decision now.
Yeah.
So you have to be cautious, and there is no right answer. Right? It's like with all organization studies, but you have to be quite sure that you have the right people there with the right mindset, with the right skills that can help you navigating through this difficult time.
Well, and I think open to like understanding technology, but then open to what the technology is going to bring for us in the future, not necessarily being closed-minded, right? All right, let's get to the report because I think it's a good time to be able to do that. Now, this is the report. We put a link in the comments for you to go and download it. And there's also a QR code on the screen to go and download this report. Now, talk to me about this, Bart. Why did you do this report? Why was it important to do it now? Talk to us about the why behind the report and what it's really there to do.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the intro you sort of gave already yourself, Sarah. I think you mentioned it before, where you said 20% is technology. I think what we often still face is a bit the opposite, right? So we also sometimes come in at customers that actually have started a transformation journey, but very, very technology centric, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then actually come to the conclusion that, yeah, we missed things. And it's a bit that part that we actually, why we did this interview round. We had, of course, our thoughts around that, but we wanted to validate that with leaders of the industry. To test basically, because we have done earlier publications on this topic, also around more specifically advanced planning system implementation, of how do you find the balance between technology, but also the other enabling factors on people, process, and data side.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you talk about engaging in a planning transformation, what are then the steps that I should take to maximize value in the end, right? So to have really sustainable value at the end, but also make sure that I keep my internal stakeholders satisfied along the way. And I think that's also, one of the key things that stuck with me. I think one of the VPs we spoke said, I can talk to my management about a 5-year transformation journey, but if I don't show them a result every time again, I will lose their buy-in on the 5-year journey. So I think that's really what we came to, and you quickly scroll through it. I think we came to the conclusion based on the interviews is that there are certain hygiene factors that you need to have in place, and that's for us really the discovery phase. So what you see a lot with companies is that engaging in transformation, that IT portion is a big part, and what gets forgotten sometimes is that the business has changed considerably for them since the last time they implemented a system. So our starting point, and that's what we mean with that discovery phase, is really going back to what should our planning model look like, right? What should our operating model be, looking at the business reality that we have today? Linked to that could also mean that the way the planning teams are organized is maybe not very fit anymore to the way you want to or should run the business. So that's sort of a cornerstone of the discovery piece. And it's also understanding if we engage again on a planning system implementation or digital capability implementation, how ready are we as an organization to do so? Understanding that we need harmonized processes, we need data, and we need certain developing people capabilities within the organization to handle those more complex solutions. How ready are we for that? So that's really the discovery piece that we summarized in the end based on our.
I really like that. And you shared some great case studies within the report as well. But I almost wonder sometimes if we need to get on the same page about what results actually look like. So we're getting pulled in a lot of different directions. So one of the challenges that they mentioned in this report, or that you mentioned, was that there's less focus. There's initiatives that are running, like multiple initiatives that are running parallel. And so I go back to that word balance that I was talking about a little bit earlier, is that there seems to be there seems to be less balance, right? They're having to look at transformation and look at continuous improvement plans into the future in conjunction with each other. And I'm just not entirely sure that's maybe the right way to go, because you're pulling people in different directions. And then, it's taking a lot longer to potentially get results or figure out where you need to go. Was that something that came up for you in the report? I don't know if Bart or Freek wants to answer that one.
Yeah, I can start. I think, again, it's a balancing act, right? So I think what we saw in those conversations is that, again, if let's say you're implementing a new APS system, right? In a complex organization, that's a multi-year journey. So knowing at the start, that full value delivery will probably only come in a couple of years' time. Mm-hmm. At the same time, and I think that's also organizing for agility, it could very well be that you leave room still, and we've seen that also with certain of our interviews, you leave room still to do, for example, an AI pilot on a more focused topic, right? Mm-hmm. Which doesn't conflict with your longer term APS journey, but is something that can still bring explicit value in how you approach things and how you organize yourself on a shorter term. And I think it's finding that balance. And that typically means organizing for agility as well. And what I more specifically mean with that, in the past, companies oftentimes did big bang implementations, right? Mm-hmm. That really, also if we look at our interviewees, that's really not the way companies structure themselves anymore. So they understand that they need to work towards a clear target and an end state target. But I think a lot of them mentioned in our conversation that they also try to organize for that agility to show results to the organization, let's say in smaller domains, typically throughout the transformation journey.
Yeah, and one of the not the results, but one of the pieces of advice or the insights that I really liked that was shared within this report is the phasing out of transformation. We can't, like you said, think about implementing it all at once and then we overwhelm the system and we overwhelm the people and everybody's like, nope, sorry, don't want to do it, right? We need to phase it out. And I think one of the most important parts is the pilots and the testing environments. And that's something that I've been talking to a lot of clients about, in the fact that they want to be able to have an environment where they can test. Not all companies, though, have the resources to be able to stand up a testing environment. And so that's actually one of the things that I'm looking at as a part of our business to really help bring the vendors and the potential clients together in a testing environment. How do we do that? How do we make more of a testing environment? Freek, do you have some final words about the report?
No, yes. I think I really like the previous discussion. There's something like theory and practice. Yes, you should focus, but then things happen like your cocoa example or your matcha example. Then we still have to focus on something else, because otherwise the business isn't running anymore. So I think it's all about balancing. If it's human with machine, if it's, let's say, focus with the need you have on a daily basis. So that's, I think, really the core of the report. It's all about trade-offs. It's all about making choices. And I think the more successful clients of us have made those choices really consciously. That's for me the key takeaway. And sometimes you still make a wrong decision, but at least it's a shared decision by the entire company.
And also informed. Right. I think you're right. I think we've got some really good words here. Balance, right? I think we need to bring balance back in. It's not one thing over the other. There's a lot of gray, right? I think it's about choices. Where do you want to spend your risk dollars? Excuse me. In every single one of your decisions, there's going to be an element of risk. And so what does that look like? How do we make that choice? How do we learn to live with the fact that there's going to be risk in every decision that we make? Because that's just the name of the game these days, especially around disruption. But I think you're right, making informed decisions. So taking the time, right? Slowing down to speed up, to make sure that you're working with the right vendor, you're working with the right partner.
Yeah.
They know what you're doing today, but they also want to be able to support you into the future. So I think that's a great way to wrap up the discussion around the report. I highly recommend. We've put a QR code up in the top right. We've also put the link to the report to download that report in the comments. Go ahead and do that right now, because there's a lot of really great information. I know a lot of you are going through digital transformations, and so this report is really for everybody watching and listening. All right, I want to wind down this episode talking about something else. So I know in the title we had said that we were going to talk about matcha, but I realized that we talked about matcha 2 weeks ago on Thoughts and Coffee with Audrey Ross. And so I want to do a focus on coconut oil, because as much as we've got shortages on matcha, we're also looking at potential shortages on coconut oil. Now, this doesn't affect everybody. It does affect me because I use a lot of coconut milk, coconut oil, because I can't drink dairy. And so this one was kind of close to my heart, but also has relation to what we're talking about today, because the prices are going to double. It looks like the shortages are going to come in because of climate change. And also, I didn't realize this, but coconuts need a year to mature. But what this also means is there's going to be a domino effect on all the other oils that everybody is going to be purchasing because of the shortage of coconut oil. And that brings me back to sourcing and planning, which is what we were talking about in the report. So Freek or Bart, I don't know if you want to comment on this. Maybe Freek, you want to take this one. But talk to me about shortages like this, how it wreaks havoc on the systems, and how important it is for us to have that digital transformation in place when this happens.
For me, this is, thanks, Sarah, because this is a really nice example, and we see these examples in every industry nowadays. If it's coconut or matcha, you mentioned yourself last time. If it's semiconductors with car manufacturers, if it's rare minerals, sometimes it's even wood. A couple of years ago, IKEA had a shortage of wood, and that not takes a year to grow. It takes, let's say, decades to grow. So I think that coming back in many industries. And it's here to stay. The coconut example, really nice. Demand is getting less. Supply is extremely difficult, or the demand's increasing a lot. Supply is getting really difficult. And there's a huge knockdown effect on all other oils, as you said yourself. But that's also in other cases. Like semiconductors, a huge knockdown effect on everything else in this supply chain. And there's no product anymore without a semiconductor. I think it really stresses the importance of this digital transformation, or having end-to-end visibility and transparency. Again, coming back to those decisions, yes, there will be a shortage. Yes, we have to allocate. But let's do it in a clever way. And you can only make those, as you said, well-informed decisions if you have end-to-end visibility in your supply chain. Yeah, that's one. And when your data latency is not too big. So if something happens, you should be able to respond on a relatively fast pace. You cannot wait for 3 months that your planning system sees, hey, there is a shortage in coconut oil. What should we do? No, you should know it in 2 days or in 3 days.
Yeah. Well, and that's how everybody's going to win. That's going to be the success in all of this, is who's ready to take on these shortages to be able to win the market, right? Exactly. And one of the challenges from your report was the synchronized end-to-end planning. Exactly. And so those who win that, and they win out how to source and procure product when there are shortages, are really, like I said, going to win the market. Yeah. So I have loved this. That was such great information and insights. I forgot to let everybody know where we're going to be. And so I want to do that real quick. I'm going to be in person in Clearwater for the Women in Supply Chain Forum, November 20th. Katie Date and I are doing a workshop from 9 to 11. So hopefully you are going to come and join us for that. And then we're also going to do a Women in Supply Chain dinner the evening of November 20th. So if you're going to be there, please let us know. We'd love to have you. And then of course, Manifest is happening February 9th through 11th in Vegas. If you don't have your ticket, and I would encourage all shippers, because we've got a really big announcement. You're going to learn a lot from some of the shippers that we are bringing into Manifest. And I encourage everybody to be there. Anyways, I want to say thank you so much, Freek and excuse me, Bart, for joining me here today on the show. And thank you so much to everybody for tuning in.